Hello, hello. Welcome to Reading Time. My name's Time, and this week we're reading Tales from Moominvalley by Tove Jansson. Let's get to reading. Tales from Moominvalley is a collection of short stories about a variety of whimsical creatures. These creatures each have different desires and worries and are featured at various points in the book in different illustrations. We are even introduced to a lot of these creatures and characters at the beginning of the book so that we're familiar with them as we go into the various stories. As you can see, they're all a little bit strange but fairly whimsical. Now, while these creatures may seem very whimsical and kind of lighthearted in appearance, a lot of the topics that are dealt with in the book are a little bit on the heavier side than what you would anticipate. They talk about having severe anxiety, and they also go in depth about feeling like you don't have a purpose. And ultimately, each story kind of reminds me of a fairy tale in that there's a lesson of sorts that could be learned from it. And in that it feels a little bit darker than the children's literature that you would assume it would be. However, I wouldn't say that this is very, very dark content or that the topics are extremely heavy. It was just more so than what I was expecting based off of the cover. Now, as we've touched on this channel before, I am not as big of a fan of whimsy as I thought I was. However, I did still find this book somewhat enjoyable, somewhat strange. I didn't really know where to rate this book for a while, but I am giving it 3.5 stars. It may be one that you really enjoy. For me, I found it a little bit too strange. However, some of that may come from the fact that it was originally written in Swedish, and I'm not very familiar with Scandinavian literature in general. So I don't know if Tales from Moominvalley fits well within a trope in Scandinavian literature or other sort of things that you would expect from that area of the world. I also don't know, because this is actually book 7 of the Moomin books, if some of it was just from being unfamiliar with the characters, even with the little helpful "this is who this is" at the beginning of the book. There is some content to be aware of for this book. First off, there is mild violence, mostly the threat of violence from some characters to others. There is also substance usage by some of the characters. Some of the characters are seen smoking regularly. And there is not a good indication of how old these characters are. One in particular, his name is Snufkin, is friends with one of the Moomin children, and so I assumed that he was younger than adulthood. This might not be the case, though. With all of this content, I would still put it at a 4th through 6th grade reading level. I don't really think that it's much different from what you would see in a lot of cartoons, except for maybe the substance usage, because like I said, I'm a little unclear about some of the characters' age ranges. And some of that is because they're not really human, even though some of the characters do look humanoid. They're referred to as having paws instead of hands. So overall, I think I'm mostly just a little baffled by this book. This book may offer opportunities to look further into other children's books or other books that have been translated, and could bring up a good discussion about what translation means and what it looks like. Because a lot of different languages don't have word-for-word translations of different ideas. And so being a translator means being able to understand the two languages, but also being able to write in a way that conveys the same meaning without changing the story. So I think it would be interesting to maybe look at some other books that have been translated. You could even have students play around with a Google Translate challenge where they type something in one language and then they translate it through a bunch of different languages back into their original language, just to see how much has changed. This book also brought to mind for me that I need to broaden my horizon with what I'm reading and familiarize myself more with books that have been written by authors who aren't English speaking. Now, for the poster for this week, our square is right here near the bottom, and it features one of the Moomins. Not sure which one. They all look pretty similar to me, except for Moomin Papa, who is the dad of the group, because he wears a top hat. Let me know if you're familiar with the Moomin books, specifically Tales from Moominvalley, down in the comments below. I had never heard of them before doing this reading challenge, so I'm always interested in seeing what people are familiar with. If you are not already, feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook or Instagram for updates about what I'm reading. And as always, have a marvelous week and a wonderful read.